Peter Vaughan, and today, in this soggy weather, I rather feel as if I've shrunk. No, not because the post-Christmas diet has worked, well, I haven't really been sticking to it, but because this motorhome, this Dethleffs Globetrotter XXL A 9000-2 EB, well, it's as big as its name, and it lives up to that XXL tag. Where am I? I'm at Red Lion Farm, just about 15 minutes or so away from Travel World, the Irvine Heimer Centre Travel World, where I picked up this big beast. How big? Well, it's 8.86 metres long, 2.35 metres wide, so pretty standard coach-built width, but 3.45 metres high. Now, when I booked this, I looked at their website, Red Lion Farm's website, and they make ice cream here. Wonderful, I thought. And they've got their on-site cafe. Wonderful again. But not today. Monday and Tuesday they're closed. So, well, that'll help the diet. But even if I starve myself, I'm not going to be able to afford one of these. List price, £225,300. And, well then, on top of that, there's around 30 grand's worth of factory-fitted options from Dethleffs on this particular vehicle, and then some further accessories that Travel World have added. So, total price, £261,640. Now, that beats the Heimer Venture S that we tested a year ago. That was 218 grand, and the Cartago Liner for 2 that was also on an Iveco chassis, and that was 244 grand last year. So this is the most expensive vehicle we've had on the channel. One of the big differences that justifies that price tag is the Iveco chassis, with twin rear wheels here, automatic gearbox and the top spec 3-litre engine. Now, whereas most Mercedes Sprinters and Fiat Ducatos, even with the tag axle Alco chassis, go up to a maximum of 5.5 tonnes, this Iveco, as standard, is a 6.7 tonne maximum gross vehicle weight. And this particular one has been up-spec'd, it's a small additional cost, to 7.2 tonnes. On top of that, you've got the optional tow bar on the back, and this vehicle can tow up to 3.5 tonnes. Starting at the front, it's an Iveco Daily 72-210, so 7.2 tonne and 210, well, roughly 210 horsepower, and also the Himatic, that's the name of the 8-speed automatic torque converter transmission that's fitted on these vehicles. This new front gives the Iveco Daily a very distinctive face, and you've got one of the cameras here for the 360-degree camera system. You've got front fog lights too, and these twin lens door mirrors, but I can't say I like the exposed screw heads on the Dethleffs branding strip across the top of the Luton. And these covered fixings too for the moulding where the cab and body join. Much better are these running boards with the non-slip treads, get you in and out of the cab safely. Of course, then looking down the side, one of the key reasons why this vehicle is so tall is the double floor, and it's a proper heated storage double floor. Access on this side and on the other side here at the front of the vehicle, the storage goes right the way across the motorhome, and it's 35 centimetres tall in there. Perhaps at this point it's a good idea to explain the branding. Well, XXL is obvious, A is Alkoven, the German word for an overcab. 9,000, I guess, hints that this is nearly 9 metres long. -2 means it's a double floor, and EB is Einzelbett, single beds, at the back. The windows, of course, at this price range are the nice framed flush fitting ones, and look how high up they are. I'm not going to have anybody peering in to see if I'm eating my dinner. Am I? No. And then moving on down the van, here in a nice inboard location, you've got your fresh and waste dump valves, all properly winterized, all nice large bore outlets. Now, fresh and wastewater tanks are both in the double floor, and they're really generous capacities, as you'd expect with this heavy duty chassis. 230 litres for fresh water, 222 litres for the grey waste. And then carrying on down the near side here, you've got your gas locker, and this has a neat little party trick because it slides out, so easier changing for your cylinders with this slide out tray. Fresh water filler, and then of course the really important thing is your rear garage. So yes, it's a really super sized garage, 1.32 metres wide and almost square because it's 1.33 metres high. You've got your Aldi heating in here. Now storage, well, we've used this here for all the extra cushions for the dinette bed, but in real use I don't see many people using this as a 6 berth, and that would be further additional storage. Your winding handle for your rear corner steadies, which you'll see in a second, and for your awning. Actually, the test van that we were using earlier, that has the electric 6 metre awning fitted. Main socket in here, and your 3 kilowatt Victron energy inverter system. 2 leisure batteries, both 150 ampere. Now that is part of the electric package 2, which is a £5,000 option both on this vehicle and the one we're actually testing. Of course, you've got your adjustable tie down hooks as well, and a full width LED strip light across the top, so good illumination. Another option, of course, is the external shower, and that is conveniently in the garage. And of course, you've got these really big full-sized garage doors too, and unusually those are linked to the remote central locking, the Iveco system. Underneath the van, you'll see those rear corner steadies. Now, if they're not sufficient for you, you can upgrade to an EMP hydraulic levelling system, which Travel World will fit. Forward again, you've got access for servicing of your Aldi heating system, usual cassette toilet, servicing door, external gas barbecue point. And then in here, this is where your mains hookup goes, comes up through the floor through a little trap door, so again you don't get any cold bridges in the sidewall and none of those little flaps that go up and down as you drive along. 2 steps into the van, steps don't automatically retract, and then the other side of that really deep double floor storage. So that's a quick tour of the outside of this XXL A. You might just spot the satellite dish on the roof there, and of course you won't have missed this 6 metre awning electric on our test vehicle. If you're mechanically minded, I'll just show you underneath the van, because there is quite a substantial ladder frame chassis under there, and you can see the prop shaft that shows you this is a rear-wheel drive van, and there aren't many of those left now. Very few rear-wheel drive Mercedes on the market, but really the Iveco is the last bastion of rear-wheel drive motorhomes. So that is the outside of this huge motorhome. Now, time to go for a drive. So clearly this is a very big motorhome, but actually it doesn't feel as big as some I've driven. Now I think part of that is that it does feel really very stable with those twin rear wheels, but also because the wheelbase isn't as long as with tag axle models, where you've got the 2 rear axles, one behind the other. And the turning circle isn't as huge, so it does feel a lot more manoeuvrable than those tag axle vehicles. And also, of course, you're sitting in a normal commercial vehicle cab, not a really wide A-class cab. Now that has its advantages and its disadvantages. Of course, you've got the twin cab doors, and it all feels very familiar in here. Well, it does if you've ever driven a Fiat Ducato, but it's much like any other light commercial vehicle in the cab. However, I think it's a bit too much like any light commercial vehicle. It's all very black and plasticky in here. The seats, well, they don't even retrim the armrests, let alone the seat itself is just in this black cloth, not the leather of the lounge. And there's no carpet, just black plastic on the floor. It does feel quite utilitarian in here. In contrast to that, well, simply the best feature, and I think probably the best automatic gearbox in any larger motorhome, is this 8-speed unit. It's very, very smooth, and not only that, but as you're slowing down, saying coming down to traffic lights or a roundabout, it changes down through the gears, so you're never in the wrong gear. It never has to think, oh, he suddenly wants to go accelerating again. It's always ready for you. Performance, well, that's probably hard for me to comment on because we're really running pretty much empty. And this vehicle could be 10.2 tons gross train weight if you had it loaded up to its maximum gross vehicle weight, 7.2 tons, and then a 3-ton trailer on the back. Well, performance then might be rather different, but it seems to cope very well. And well, there isn't a more potent chassis in this class without going to the really big lorry type chassis, Mercedes Artigos and so on, and the heavier Iveco truck chassis. Here you've got 207 horsepower, and that beats the 190 of a Merc Sprint, 180 of a Fiat Ducato, and you've got 470 Newton meters of torque, which again beats its rivals. So it's a big, heavy duty base vehicle. I just wish they'd put a bit more effort into the cab, into swishing it up a little bit. It's not wanting for spec. You've got ESP, hill holder, adaptive cruise control, full LED headlights. Yeah, there's plenty of spec on it. And of course you've got this 9-inch Zenec unit touchscreen, which does your Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and it's got, as an option, a really clever 360-degree camera system, which gives you like a helicopter view above the vehicle when you're manoeuvring. It's very useful with a vehicle of this magnitude. Other bits of spec, well, you've got active lane keeping assist and crosswind assist, which I think with a vehicle as tall as this could be pretty essential. That said, on the limited bit of driving I've done, 50 miles an hour on an A road, it does feel very good, even though it's quite a blustery day today. You've got air suspension on the rear axle as well, and you've got switches down here to raise or lower the back of the van if you're loading, say, a motorbike into the garage, or if you need to raise the back up boarding a ferry or something. Another interesting feature is these seats. Okay, they look quite utilitarian, but they are heated, and they've also got their own suspension. You just dial in your weight on the front of the seat. You don't have to tell anybody. And the seats sort of move up and down, so cushioning you from shocks in the road. And that is a big bonus if you're doing a really long journey. That said, you can occasionally feel judders through the chassis on rougher roads with this Iveco daily chassis cab. So all in all, it's quite a different beast to a lot of the competition. Well, for such a big van, it really is very impressive on the road. Now, it's time to see if it's as impressive on the inside. Yes, this is a big motorhome, and it feels that way as soon as you step on board. But unusually, the cab plays no part once you've arrived on site. Yes, you can tip up the bed base for the overcab bed, but really there's no great need because the cab is a much lower level and it's not difficult to stoop down and go through without raising that section. It goes up on gas struts too. Now the interesting thing is, as I say, you can slide a door across, you can even lock it in place, and then these two extra cushions come into play. There's a couple of flaps that you need to raise. Slot in first the base cushion and then the backrest, and then you have this all-around seating area, a full C shape, a bit like you get in Carthago's Liner for two or some of the big Frankias, where the seats face in all four directions. But of course here, unlike in those models, the lounge is at the front. Wherever you sit, this is a superb lounge. The backrests are nicely shaped. This is real leather. It's called Colin. Who gets to name upholsteries? Now that sounds like an easy job to me. Easier than motorhome testing anyway. And it's not just your lounge, of course, it's your rear travel seats. Although remember that anybody travelling back here is going to be very separate from the cab, although you would have this door open. So you've got 3-point belts on the rearward facing seat and 3-point belts and Isofix as an option on the forward facing seat. But really, I think this space is about relaxing. It's a very generous, comfortable space for 4 people. I think it might be cosy with 6, and this is a 6-berth van, but as a 4-person van, it is very, very nice. A very nice space to be in. You've got downlighters around the big roof light. That's a wind-up one, of course, and it's the full-size Hecky. You've got more downlights under the top lockers there. You've got reading lights, and the table, although it's big, it's not massively big, and it does slide and move around. So easy access to get in for your dinner, and well, when you want to watch the TV, that just pulls down from over there. In its higher position, of course, the TV is ideal for watching from the overcab bed, but if you're watching in the daytime from the lounge, it just pulls down to a really comfortable viewing height. It's a 32-inch telly. Yes, of course, it's an option, as is the satellite dish that it's linked to and the sound package that gives you these additional Genet speakers in the corners of the lounge. But, well, if you're stuck in the van on a day like today, you'd really appreciate this. From the TV to the characteristic Dethleffs clocks, which show you battery condition, water levels and so on, and of course a real clock. And then above that, hidden behind a door, you've got the Wärmetusche, which is your heat exchanger, so you can take heat from the engine while you're driving to keep the living area warm. your Audi control panel, because of course you've got wet central heating in a vehicle like this, heating in the double floor, in fact heating throughout the vehicle, even radiators in the shower and toilet areas. Gives you a lovely domestic feel to the warmth inside the van, none of that drying effect that you sometimes get with blown air. And then you've got your controls for the inverter system and for your satellite dish. Now, yes, it is possible to turn this lounge into a bed. Apparently it fills this space and you use some of those, well, all of those many extra cushions that we found in the garage. It looks pretty damn complicated. Obviously you lower the table and use flaps and extra cushions and, well, you make a bed, but nobody really wants to show me how it's done. So let's instead look at the overcab. You remove the cushions that we put in earlier to make the wraparound seating and add possibly the best ladder I've seen ever for an overcab bed. It's like a domestic type ladder. It's got nice wide rungs. It doesn't hurt your feet. That makes a change. And then up here you have a very comfortable double bed on sprung staves, nice thick comfy mattress, and the measurements are 2.1 meters long by 1.41 meters wide, 6'10.5" by 4'7.5". Now you've got reading lights at either end, but because they're on rails you can swap them around. You can put two on either side, depending which way round you want to sleep. You've got windows at either end too, and a roof light above. So if you're camping in Spain in the summer, well, you're not going to be short of ventilation. You're not going to be short of comfort either. This is as good as overcab beds ever get. I think there's 72 centimetres of headroom here, which is pretty impressive, and it doesn't curve away too much towards the front. And then, well, you've even got privacy curtains. And of course, prime position for watching that telly. Of course, the master bedroom is at the opposite end of the motorhome, so you've got plenty of separation between those two sleeping areas. Now, I've mentioned lots of things on this van are optional extras, but one thing you get as standard is the Truma Aventa roof air conditioning. So, again, you'll be comfortable if you're heading off to the Med. And another thing I should mention, well, not only is there a real feeling of high quality in the fit and finish of this Dethleffs, almost no rattles or squeaks on the road, for example, and, well, just look at it, it looks beautifully finished, doesn't it? As it should, for 260-odd thousand pounds. And one thing that Dethleffs is particularly proud of in its vehicles is its lighting. It has a lighting concept for the motorhomes, and one thing that you get in an XXL is this remote control, so you can alter the tone of the lighting in the lounge area. So at the rear you have a private bedroom. Private because you've got a sliding door that comes across, and that's great if you are using this as a family vehicle, because then everybody has private access into the washroom area. And then back here, well, it's the typically Germanic layout, single beds on either side, but for once they are the same size, 1.96 meters long by 81 centimeters wide. That's 6'5" by 2'8". But in reality, for most of the length of these beds, you've got the full width of the van. That's 2.1 meters. They're longer that way than they are the length of the beds. You could actually extend this centerpiece and sleep across if you wanted to. And then you've got Roman blinds, just like in the lounge. You've got a second telly, just slides out at the foot of the offside bed. That's a 22-inch TV this time, and again it comes with extra speakers as part of that sound package. Now, not only have you got the opening windows, you've got this big wind up roof light, hecky roof light again like in the lounge. And then back here you've got little storage pockets for reading matter or your phone or whatever, and 12 volt USB and 230 volt power points above. Reading lights, of course, and more storage all the way around. But I know what you're thinking, if only you could sit up in bed. Well, for once you actually can, because you have these lift up ratchet system on the backrest, and now, well, I could relax here, chaise longue style, and watch the telly. Under each bed you've also got a wardrobe, which you can access conventionally from the front or by lifting the whole of the bed base on gas struts and going from the top. There's a little bit of extra storage too on this side, and on the other side the wardrobe is larger, and both of them have automatic illumination. Still not enough clothes hanging space? Well, down by the door next to the fridge you've got a supersized wardrobe, and in fact you can take these shelves out so even the longest ball gown would hang in there. But unfortunately, in this area of the van I also find the feature that I like least. No, not the supersized fridge, that's 177 litres. It's got doors that open from either side. It's got a separate freezer compartment. And of course, automatic energy selection. No, the thing I don't like is that the oven is right up there above. Look how high it is, above the fridge freezer. And it's just an oven, no grill, no toast, I'm afraid. The oven is doubly disappointing because the rest of the kitchen is really good. You've got this nice 3-burner hob, but more importantly, masses and masses of storage, and all the drawers are centrally locked. Just press a button to lock or unlock them. Couple of 3-pin main sockets there too, conveniently placed, and plenty of worktop, especially when you've got the sink lid in place. Now that reverses for a chopping board. If you expected corian for the worktop, well, you might be disappointed, but this marble finish looks quite nice. But as I say, the king in this space is the storage. Now here you've got this really good slide out area for tinned and packet foods. You've got massive drawer for cutlery and utensils, and then 2 more equally massive drawers below, and then this final pull out section includes 2 bins, perhaps one for waste, one for recycling, and room for taller items like your cereal packets. There's an extractor hood as well, and well, it just looks nice too with this curved front, doesn't it? And that just leaves me to show you the washroom facilities, which of course can not only be closed off from the bedroom, but also with the toilet door from the rest of the living area. So on the off side you have the toilet area, swivel cassette toilet, and this one's been upgraded to the ceramic loo. You've got an Aldi radiator, a couple of toothbrush mugs, the same marble effect worktop as you saw in the kitchen, and a plastic basin. It perhaps doesn't look as swish as you'd expect for the money. The nicest feature, perhaps, these top lockers with the big mirrors on them, and opening windows good too, and there's loads of ventilation because you've got 3 roof vents here. Wow. This is a adequate space with the toilet door shut, but it's not an XXL space. Yeah. Now let's have a look at the shower. One thing I should have mentioned is there's a flat floor right from the lounge right through to the back bedroom. So you've got massive headroom everywhere, and that includes in the shower. Through most of the vehicle, it's 2.1 metres of headroom. Now you've got a hanging rail here for any wet clothes, a little shelf attached to your riser bar for your shampoo or whatever. And, well, it's a decent sized shower. Not huge again, but pretty generous. And one thing I really do like is these little anti-rattle buttons so that the shower doors don't chatter away while you're driving. They're plastic doors, not glass, as you see in some of the really expensive liner type motorhomes, but you shouldn't have any issues with this as a motorhome shower. After all, you have loads of water capacity in this van too. And underneath that wooden duckboard, there's a single large central drain outlet. So, final verdict time on this Dethleffs Globetrotter XXL A. Well, the star of the show for me is this lounge. I really like it. Yes, you haven't got the all-round views that you get in a rear lounge, but it's such a comfortable, cosy place to relax when outside the weather is really foul today. I also like the fact that you shut off the cab. Now, if we were back in the Alps at -20, as I was with Bailey the other week, well, that closing off the cold cab, you've got the heated double floor, the Audi heating, it would be lovely in here, like coming back to a ski chalet. So this van really is about full timing or long-term touring. You've got that massive payload, that huge garage, the vast underfloor, double floor storage. But more than that, this is a vehicle in which every area is as big as it needs to be. Now, there are downsides. That oven is unforgivable in a vehicle of this size. It's too small, it doesn't include a grill, and you have to be like a giraffe to be able to comfortably see that your dinner isn't burning. But apart from that, there is an awful lot to like in this van, as there should be at 260-odd thousand pounds, remember. But remember too that you're paying for that base vehicle. You're paying for a 7.2 tonne chassis, a towing capacity of 3.5 tonnes maximum, and, well, just the way this thing is built, it's a cut above your average big motorhome. There's very few true rivals to this. I found one in the Morello lineup, but that's even bigger, even more expensive. So if you like this design, if you think this will work for you, that you don't mind not having an A-Class, that you're happy with a standard commercial vehicle cab, then do take a close look. But you might want to start saving, because it's not cheap. Thanks ever so much for watching. Do remember, there's many more reviews on our website, outandaboutllive.co.uk, and lots more motorhome advice and information on that site too. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks very much.